Still a few minutes, perhaps 1 or 2 academic minutes to make sure that all the lay people can arrive. It's a full house, so it's going to be a very quick session, I believe. Welcome, everyone. I'm Cristina Martinez, the Deputy Head of Unit of the E-Infrastructure and Open Science Unit. We are here today to present you the call Infra EOSC 02-2019. Welcome, have a seat. There's a lot of place in the back also. We have a very short presentation which basically details the content of this call. After the presentation, we will be open to questions, and perhaps we can even close the session before time. So let's start with the first slide. Shall I use this one? Okay. Very well. This is perhaps the most important event for us this year. It took place in Vienna 2 weeks ago. We have officially launched the European Open Science Cloud portal. As you can see, the moment was rather emotional and ceremonial because we believe that what we're trying to achieve with this initiative will be very important for all the scientists in Europe. The European Science Cloud has now a portal live, which presents a lot of resources. This is the result of a collaboration between 3 framework program projects, the EOSC Hub, the E-Infra Central, and the Open Air 2020 projects. I will tell you more about it in a minute. But before anything, I would like to know whether you know what the European Open Science Cloud is. Anyone? No? Okay. But then, would you mind pressing the button? Let's look at the video.
Open science enables researchers to share and use their publications, tools, and data to create new knowledge, which can lead to innovative discoveries. Open science boosts competitiveness and productiveness in Europe. To make this happen, we need a seamless research environment that provides access to the outputs and services researchers need for their work. This is the mission of the European Open Science Cloud, and its gateway is the EOSC portal. The EOSC portal is more than a website. It's a collaborative effort that brings together all you need to know about the European Open Science Cloud. From services and resources to real examples featuring research communities making the most of EOSC. From governance models to rules of participation. From the latest policies to funding opportunities. Through the EOSC portal, researchers can discover, compare, and access resources and services via a single entry catalogue. Through the EOSC portal, researchers can access services and resources for all scientific disciplines. The EOSC portal simplifies all stages of the research cycle, empowering innovation in Europe. Ready to start? Visit the EOSC portal to access the services and resources. And if you are a provider ready to share your services with the world, why not join?
Thank you. So, as you have seen, the portal is much more than just a web. The portal is a real environment where you will be able to use services, any kind of services, computer storage, applications, intelligent agents, any types of ICT service that can help a researcher to manipulate data and to collaborate online with other researchers. So this, the catalog of services that is currently available, of course, is just the beginning of the catalog that we are aiming for. Our ambition is to gather in the catalog all the existing services of the publicly funded research infrastructures in Europe. So at the moment, there are more than 70 research infrastructures that are no, perhaps a bit less. How many can you tell me exactly? 36 or 37 research infrastructures, so data producers within the consortium. 20? Okay, but then you have also other communities joining in the course of the project. And we want to have also large scientific clusters in Europe eventually joining through another call for proposals. So there will be a lot of data producers, and scientists need support to be able to exploit that data. So here comes the need for innovative services. The catalog is, as I said, currently populated with existing services provided by the public infrastructures. But we believe that to really be able to take the benefit of all the available data, including big data, because we have data sources such as Copernicus, Earth observation data, and many other big data sources that will be incorporated little by little in this catalog. We believe that we need other types of services that will be of a generic value to scientists, but which can provide opportunities for making science differently and collaborating online as well. So Georgia will present us in a second the detail of the call. I just wanted to complement what I said with some references which may be useful should you wish to apply for the call. The projects that are involved in this initiative are the EOSC Hub, as I said, the Open Air project and the e-Infracentral project, which deals with the catalog. We also have a new project that has just been awarded, which will be dealing and experimenting procurement facility for the EOSC Hub. So the idea here is to elicit user needs, to make call for proposals for other services which have already reached TRL 8 or 9, and incorporate them into the catalog of services so that we can have a more substantial and more appealing catalog of services for the users. So this call is complementing again this initiative by supporting and incentivizing the development of innovative services. There will be a continuation of the current EOSC Hub project, which is, as I said, supporting the portal, but also the integration and the consolidation of a lot of public services. And this is, again, a detail of the proposal that I just mentioned before, which is led by Géant, represented here by Matthew Scott. And perhaps you may want to know also Yannick Legret, who represents the EOSC Hub project, because as I said, this project will be instrumental in facilitating the enrichment, the progressive enrichment of the catalog of services of the European Open Science Cloud. And now let's go to the meat. Georgia Tsenu is presenting you the details of the calls, and we will be both available for questions after the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. So good morning from my part. I will present you the topic, the InfraEOSC 02 2019, which was launched on the 16th of October this year and has a deadline on the 29th of January 2019. Before we start, you already know this, all these presentations are just to give you a bit more of explanations of what this call is about, but the only binding legal reference remains the work program. So please, those of you that intend to submit a proposal, stick to what is written in the work program. And of course, we are always available to give you more details, more explanations on that. So it is the green one. Yeah, that's it. I found it. So, as Christina said, the European Open Science Cloud has been launched. One of the goals of the EOSC for the coming years is to become more inclusive, and this means that we want to cover all the scientific disciplines and all the phases of the research cycle. This topic addresses exactly this need, addresses exactly this goal that we have for the EOSC, and therefore we invite consortia to develop and prototype innovative services that will be offered through the EOSC portal. Now, the basic features of the call, I told you it was launched on the 16th of October. We have a deadline in January, so there is enough time if you want to think about new, fresh ideas of services that are currently needed or will be needed by the research community and submit your proposals. The overall budget of the call is 28.5 million euro, and an indicative budget per proposal is around 5 to 6 million euro, which is only an indication, it's not binding. Now, the services and the tools that we are looking for have to address, of course, needs of the research community. We are open to all disciplines. We are open to all phases of research cycle. As mentioned, they will be offered through the EOSC portal, so they have to be complementary and enriching the current offering, so this is really important. And you have to take into account any accessibility requirements that are currently available, and I think that the people from the EOSC Hub that are currently here can give you more details on that. Now, we are looking for innovative services. However, we would like the services to be available through the portal quite soon, let's say. This is why we don't start from the very scratch. We are looking for services that will be based on systems and technologies that have reached already TRL 6, and by the end of the project, will have reached TRL 8. So this is really important. Please take it into consideration. Then another important feature is the interdisciplinarity. Now, this is something that you probably face in almost all the Horizon 2020 calls. It's a key word for most of the calls for a proposal. There is a difference in our call. This interdisciplinarity has to be tested during the project duration, meaning that your services, your tools will have to be tested during the implementation by different scientific communities or different sectors. So by the end of the project, we have to be sure that they are ready to be exploited by the broad user community. This is also an opportunity for us to invite new people, new stakeholders to get involved in the European Open Science Cloud Initiative. So one of the main elements is that we would like to to encourage small and medium enterprises to get involved in this effort. So all the consortia are strongly encouraged to include the SMEs in their proposals. And again, any new stakeholder that would like to see, to check what is already available and think about other services and tools that will eventually help the research community and other sectors to reuse all the data, all the resources that are available. Now, what we are trying to achieve, what we expect to achieve through this call is we would like to invite actually the user community to co-create these services. So it's all about being inclusive. We do invite all sectors, all disciplines to join forces, to think about their needs, to co-design these services, and to give the incentives to their users community, to themselves, to get back to the services and actually use them. Of course, the whole EOSC initiative is about open science. So as Christina very clearly explained, what we would like to see is that resources are widely available, that there is a cross-border and interdisciplinary collaboration, and this call will provide services and tools to enhance this open science collaboration. And lastly, we are talking about innovative services, new services, so these will have to showcase, they have to demonstrate that they will generate new knowledge that can be used by multiple communities, multiple sectors, that it will contribute to the societal challenges that we are currently facing. Now, all these specific features of these calls have been reflected in the evaluation criteria as well. So apart from the usual criteria that you already probably know, those of you that are already involved in some projects, a few things that will be particularly assessed in this call is, first of all, as I told you, the maturity of the services and tools on which you will base your services. So they have to be TRL 6 and reach TRL 8. one of the other approaches has to do with the interdisciplinarity. This will be also very closely evaluated, how you plan to include many different communities and how you will justify that these communities will be involved during the implementation of the project and will not be scheduled for exploitation after the end, which is sometimes the case in other projects. Of course, the other criteria have to do with the complementarity with the EOSC portal, how much it adds value to what is already there, and all the necessary steps, all the provisions that you will make in order for the services to be integrated, to be able to integrate it. And this has to do also with the IPR, with the accessibility requirements, and all these issues that have to be tackled during the implementation of the project. We will also have a look on the incentives that you plan to give to the user communities in order to attract their attention and use their services. So I think that these are the main points of the call. I would like to stress that there are some additional information in the participant portal, some frequently asked questions that have already been replied. Some of your fellow researchers, colleagues, have been interested in the call. So the replies are already available in the participant portal. And of course, there is the network of the national contact points. And we have Daniela Mercurio, a representative, a coordinator of the REACH project. So there are people in your country that can give you more information about the work program, can help you create consortia and give you additional clarifications on what is needed. So if you have any additional questions for either me or Christina about the call, we will be happy to reply.
What do you mean by addressing the public also sector? Is there anything that you have on mind with public sector?
Christina, okay. So actually, the European Open Science Cloud, the aim is to provide resources and services not only to researchers, but also to the private and the public sector. So in this particular topic, I want to make clear that we are open to any kind of services that cover any discipline and can be useful to any sector. So it's up to you. We are scientifically agnostic. We encourage, we foresee in the future collaborations with other open data initiatives like the European Open Data Portal that has data that come from the public sector and can be used by the public sector. So, for example, if you have any services or tools that could help even the public authorities to get the profit from the data that are already available, that could be also a choice.
So in other words, if you have use cases that would involve scientists collaborating with the public sector, this would be welcome. Thank you. So we can envisage many types of use cases here, including use cases which would include users that are not for the moment, let's say, considered by the Open Science Cloud, because as my colleague said, eventually we would like to open up this wealth of knowledge to society. And so if you have a use case that shows what is the added value of sharing scientific data or sharing knowledge with the public sector or the private sector, I think this would be a plus.
And of course, it would be really useful for the evaluation if you can try and test this use for the public sector during the implementation. So that would be certainly an added value.
So from TRL 6 to TRL 8 is a very important dimension to remember. Yeah, we're supporting that development of the state of the art, but it has to be an operational service at the end of the project. Questions?
Just for the opening to the industry or private sector, because we know that for providing services to the public sector or the academic sector, the general requirement is to provide the services free at the point of use, or let's say with a sponsored access. For the industry or the private sector, is it possible to have, for example, a paid access or a pay as you use or as you go? Because in fact it implies different business logic in the back end, and so there are some new mechanisms also to explore and to see how we can prototype that.
Absolutely, and I think this is a very important question, which, by the way, is not resolved at all, but is part of the scope of the discussions that will take place now at the governance level. So the Commission is, as you know, accompanying also this initiative with an exercise of governance and putting together people who are both the funders and the users in a specific scheme of collaboration where these people will be discussing what are the rules and principles, what are the mechanisms for joining the EOSC, both as a service provider and as a user. What would be the value models? I would say value models because, I mean, this is a very large scope of behaviors and exchanges, and there will be services offered both to scientists, so as you said, who would benefit for the free access to the services, from other types of users, which for the moment are not yet encompassed in the modus operandi of the Open Science Cloud. So we need to pilot, we need to see how this can be included in a smooth way so that we still have the scientists as our main users, but also can benefit, as I said, can open up the EOSC to other users. So we don't have answers to these questions. It is the very purpose of these projects to experiment different business models and see how this can be implemented. And perhaps your projects could also have a look at this type of issue as an aside benefit of the project. Yeah. So there are many unresolved questions for the moment. Access rights, the access policy, also we don't have yet clarity on what are the standards and the mechanism that we will need to follow to apply as a service provider. There are many other issues like how to open up to other users. For the moment, the users who are able to use those services are mostly researchers who belong to those research infrastructures, but at term, as I said, eventually we want all the scientists in Europe, more than 1.7 million people, be able to exploit those services and collaborate online and launch new forms of collaboration. So this is again a new asset which I think the EOSC will bring to research in Europe, is that we will be able to collaborate in a different way, perhaps ask ourselves different questions because we have data, yes, we have tools which help us to exploit big data in a different way. So these are the type of explorations that we would like this call to make.
And of course, all these recent developments, I mean, apart from the catalog and the services themselves that they can be found in the EOSC portal, you can find all these discussions about the policy issues, about the challenges ahead in the portal as well. So there are sections where you can find out this kind of information that will be really useful when planning your proposals.
Just to compliment on what you said, I don't think you have to worry too much now about governance and about all the policy initiative around the EOSC. I think what matters is that you realize that you're pioneers. If you provide services, innovative services to this initiative, there will be a mechanism to remunerate service providers. And this is exactly what we're doing now. We're discussing those value models and discussing those retribution mechanisms. But more important, you will have a market. So we, as I said, we have this ambitious target of 1.7 million users. Here, I'm only referring to scientists. So if at term we have the public sector and also the private sector who can join the initiative with different access rights, then the market is even larger. So this is a unique opportunity also to expose your services in a very challenging but nevertheless very rewarding environment.
Sorry, Martin, I stole the mic before you. Yeah, this is on the practical side also for the project. So the new services that will be developed also have to be made available through the EOS portal and also connect with the EOS Hub. So EOS Hub is also an ongoing project. So there is no plan in the EOS Hub project for all these new projects that are arriving after we started. So please, in your own project, plan some effort and budget to interact and to be onboarded in the marketplace and the portal, because we won't be able to support everyone without any additional resources. So
This is clear, and it's included in the valuation criteria as well.
Okay, just one question. So, what do you mean? Because there are different, I think, definition depending where you look for, how you Google for societal applications. What do you mean by that?
For the societal challenges, you mean?
Expected impact, you say, support societal applications benefiting from strong user orientation. So what do you mean by these applications?
It is exactly these applications, the tools, and services that will contribute to the societal challenges as they are described in Horizon 2020. So they can cover all the big challenges that have been referred in the work program in the Horizon 2020. It's some of the general provisions that you see in most of the calls.
Can I have also, sorry, a further question about the possible business models and regarding the inclusion of the private sector? Because when planning a service, it is very heavily dependent on the money that comes in. So, for example, planning the sustainability of the service or the service level agreements that are in place, it would be probably different for the public or the private sector. And when planning the implementation of the service even, it sometimes requires more of the development to be able to sustain or to meet the requirements of the private sector. So in scope of this call and this project, it might differ when planning the development of the service if it's aimed on to the private sector as well. So if we don't know what are the possible business models, then probably will not be as capable of planning the service development on a way.
So yeah, is it working? No? Yes? Yeah. As I said, we don't have the answers yet. The one mechanism that we will be exploring, and it's going to be launched very soon, is public procurement. As simple as that. So this is the channel through which private services will be incorporated in the catalog. Now, when it comes to quality, I think this is again a governance issue that will have to be resolved together with the EOS Hub project, because it is about the SLAs and the contracts that the infrastructures running the platform will have bilaterally with all the service providers. So I don't have an answer. But this is the type of discussions that they are now having within the consortium and with service providers.
So can we assume that, because I'm also involved in EOS Hub, and after our findings in the project, can we assume that the new projects can have also, did I understand correctly, that the new projects can also include some part of effort connected with the business models analysis, possible business model analysis with the services that we want to?
Having an exploitation plan is always highly advised, indeed, as an evaluation criteria, but also as let's say, a sensible way of managing a project which has a real ambition to exploit the assets of the project at the end of the project. So definitely, yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
No more questions?
No. So thank you very much. If you have any other questions, if questions come up when you are trying to prepare a proposal, feel free to contact us and we'll get back to you. Thank you very much.
You can also visit us on the EOS Hub booth on the EC Village.
Yes, it's the booth number 6, if I remember correctly, in the EC Village.